I'm going to talk about wall improvements in both the above ground stories and in basement walls and in costs. There's been a little bit of of discussion around how do you improve part of a wall, and what are the costs based on. So here's what we're going to do. First, I'll leave the building zip the way it is. I'm not so concerned with any of that. Um, let's choose a different conditioned area. Let's make it simple, make it a one-story building. We'll say it's 800 conditioned square feet, which does not include the basement, so it's just one story. But it does have a basement, and you could even add some crawl space too. But let's just say that this is just a single story house with a full basement. Okay, so that should be set up. Now when I go to the walls, it gives me the gross wall area in this wall area 1 control. So that's the total gross area. If I start to ratchet that down, then you know, eventually you'll be coming up with really strange results, because if you go too far, then eventually you'll get negative net areas, because remember, you've got windows and doors in there as well. So in this case, 18% of the floor area is window area, and then there's another 42 square feet of doors on the existing building. And this is gross. So those areas for windows and doors would be subtracted from this to get net wall area. Okay, and OptiMizer is keeping track of that in the background. In other versions of OptiMizer, if you saw someone else with OptiMizer, you'd see we have net wall areas. We have different ways of describing those things, but in this version of OptiMizer, we don't. So that's just taken care of. And if you go to the improvements, you can see that on the wall line here, it has a cost, right? And that's being calculated by the net wall area, the area of, that you're improving. So let's go back. So look, that's at $1,120. If we go back to the walls, um, we just said no, it's only 864. When we go back here, it's down to 1,058, and if we kept changing it, then the cost would keep changing, and so on. So I'm going to put that at 914, which is what OptiMizer calculated based on the square footage of conditioned area and the wall height, saying the gross area is 914. So in this version, we don't have a percent improved control. So whatever improvement you describe on the improved side is going to be applied to this entire area that's listed in this control, or at least the actual wall portion, the net area. So if I go down here to wall area 2, what this allows me to do is describe all the walls in the building, so that the model knows that there are more existing walls, but it allows you to just improve part of that. So, like for example, if you wanted to improve 100 square feet of wall area, then you could set area 2 to 814 square feet, and you could change this to 100. And that way the total area would remain the same. And what you would do is you would apply your improvement just to this area 1, and area 2 you could say I'm not going to improve. And the framing and insulation conditions should be the same for both areas on the base side. Right, so if I go back again to my details, you'll see this is really low cost, because it's just applying the improvement to that 100 square feet. Okay, but also the savings are going to be low too because I'm just improving a small amount. So that's that. If and you can't leave this step out. Okay, in this version of OptiMiser, it like I said, this is when you land here, it will have shown you the total gross wall area for that building that it is using in the physics model. And when you change that amount, you are changing what is going into the mathematical model that's keeping track of loads, energy flowing in and out of the house. So if you crank that down, you're telling Optimizer, no, this house doesn't it just has very short walls or something, whatever the case is, and you're going to come up with really bad results. So you want to make sure all that wall area is described in here. Basements are a little different. You have one set of controls for the basement, and then so you get the floor area here. It doesn't tell you the wall area. And then for both the base and improved, what you do is you start by specifying a general configuration. So does it have insulation on the interior walls, the exterior walls, both? Does it have some insulation above the slab, so the floor of that basement, or below it? Um, so let's say you're going from a bare wall to adding some insulation. You would leave that at none, and then you can say you want to add insulation to the interior wall. In order to add cavity insulation, you have to have some framing, right? Which makes sense. You can't have a cavity if you don't have any framing. So you have to have some framing in there, and then you can add cavity insulation. If you don't have any framing, you can still add continuous insulation. Okay, so you can pick whatever type of continuous you want. But let's say we've got 16-inch framing. We're going to add some fiberglass bats in there. So I'll do that. And if I go to my basement line, that should be an R0, right? There's no insulation in the existing condition to an R19. Um, and there it's going to calculate the cost for you. You can also add both continuous and cavity insulation. So I could do a 1-inch rigid insulation over that. And you can see the cost rose up. I don't know what happened to the SIR. I didn't pay attention, but you can see the savings go up a little bit there. If there's any questions about any of this or requests to add some additional functionality or features you want to see, make sure you get in touch with us. The best way to communicate about specific issues you're seeing on projects is to use the Send Error Report button, and make sure you describe exactly where you're seeing the problem and what you expect to see. So a good trick is to right click on a control and say view entry, and this will give you the unique name for that control. So every control in the interface has a unique name that we can use to refer to them by. And so if you have a problem and you say, well, I'm having a problem with wall framing, it's not working the way I expect, you can use that name and reference that in the note when you submit the issue report to us, and we'll know exactly what you're talking about. One of the things that we commonly get is a kind of a general statement about, well, I'm having trouble with attic insulation or attic savings. It's not working out, and we don't know whether you're talking about in the area of the software where you're specifying the insulation, in the software where you're viewing the results internally here, or in the report. And those things all are a little different, and so it's really important to specify whether where you're seeing the problem, whether it's in the interface, on the improvement tables, or in the report. Thanks. Good luck.